No.
Thank you. Hi, welcome to the information event for the call for Software Sustainability Fellows. I hope you can see my screen now. My name is Carlos Martinez. I'm the community manager at the Netherlands eScience Center. So a little bit what we are going to do in this information event. It's just a short moment to welcome you all into the room. I'll give a little bit of an introduction about the eScience Center and about OpenScience.nl, because this call we run in collaboration with OpenScience.nl. Then I'll give a few details about the call, about what is expected from this call and how the application criteria. We'll have a small break in between, and then we'll have lightning talks by two fellows from our previous fellowship programs, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers. But of course, if you have any question in between that you want to mention, please just add your question in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. My colleagues Peter and Clara are here with me. Peter is online and Clara is here with me in the room, and we'll just try to answer your questions as best as we can. Okay, so let's just get started. So I'll just talk a little bit about the eScience Center for those of you who are not familiar. The eScience Center is the National Center of Expertise in developing and applying research software to answer challenging, urgent research questions. So that means that we're and as a national center, we try to work with partners across the country, and we do this by developing research software, which research software can include many things, from a small script to make an analysis for a research paper to a larger infrastructure software that is used by all researchers in a specific domain, and everything in between, small tools that you build for your team or for a collaboration project. Software package that has many users across the globe. All of that falls in the scope of research software. And we do this in two types of activities. So we build software. So we actually work in collaborative projects, developing software together with our partners. But we also do this by building capacity. So that means that there's other projects in which we focus more on developing training materials and helping people have the skills that they need to develop and maintain their own software. So the main asset that we have as a digital center of expertise is, of course, our people, so our engineers. We have a team of approximately 40 research software engineers who are specialists in they have usually different backgrounds. Some of them come from more the domain sciences, some more from the computing science and digital technologies, and they have the expertise to translate domain questions into research software. And so their expertise is in really establishing this type of collaboration between researchers and digital technologies. So they write code, but they also help with the teaching that we provide. They write papers together with our collaborators, and they publish papers, they publish software, and they engage in national events and give presentations about the software and about the science, and they advocate for the role of that research software engineers play in the landscape. So they are very used to collaborating with others, and one thing that characterizes most of our RSCs is that they're really good team players. They try to collaborate with people across the research landscape. So our research software engineers is divided in different sections. So we have 4 sections on the domain expertise. These are life sciences, social sciences and humanities, environment and sustainability, and natural sciences and engineering. So these are the domains where most of our projects we try to allocate into one section, but of course there are some projects which are multidisciplinary across sections. So the sections are mostly an indication, but we try to still collaborate and disseminate knowledge across the sections. And that's why we also have our technological expertise that is like overarching the section. So we have different areas of technological expertise where we focus, which are advanced computing, analytics and visualization, artificial intelligence, efficient data handling, software quality and sustainability. And this technological expertise can be applied in the different domains. So they're really cross-section. We have special interest groups in each of these technological expertise areas, which are like a paper reading club or a seminar series on these topics that we focused. We try to make sure that our engineers are really continue developing their expertise in this topic, and where they can exchange knowledge with each other and with other collaborators on these topics, on these technological topics. So as I mentioned before, we have we provide training. So we have our training portfolio, which covers different range of topics. So some essential topics like a good practice in software development, some intermediate topics like intermediate Python or writing reproducible packages in R, and we have some more advanced topics, which are, for example, like efficient computing with Julia or GPU programming. So we have different trainings that we provide that are in different areas. So also the more open science, reproducible practices focused type of projects, but also more on specific technologies, and within that at different levels of detail. And we also have our trainer program, which helps other people become instructors, and they develop their skills in teaching other people how to learn about research software. So we help to train the trainer, so you can provide trainings on topics of research software. More on the activities that we do beyond our projects is that we advocate for the recognition of research software, and we do this through different projects or the different mechanisms, different activities in which we are involved. One of them is the Research Software Directory, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We are also very strong advocates of the Amsterdam Declaration for Research Software, which is a declaration that advocates for the importance of research software engineering and the research software engineers, and for them to get recognition from research performing organizations and research funding organizations. We also advocate for software citations, so we try to develop guidelines and principles and tools for how to make your software citable in order to get recognition for the software that you write. We also create guidelines for software management plans, so that people can write their own software management plan and plan ahead of time how you're going to manage your software at the beginning of the project and throughout your project. So these are only some of the activities that we as Center advocate for and promote, that are not part of our normal project, but are more aimed towards the recognition of research software. So if you have questions about any of them, please feel free to reach out to us either during the Q&A or later on. I'll just go into a little bit of detail on the Research Software Directory, because that's probably one of the most interesting or relevant activities that could be interesting to you. So the Research Software Directory, it's a web interface that we provide to help making software more findable. So every piece of software that we write has a landing page in which you can see not only where to find the software, but also the bigger context of the software, who has been involved in developing it, which organizations, where has it been used, where has it been cited, which research outputs have been produced thanks to this software. So it helps you have a an overview of the software that you're creating and where it's being used, so you can quickly have a sense of whether this software is relevant for you or not, and whether it's still being maintained, whether it's actively being used, and what type of scientific questions it's being used for. This started as a project that we built for ourselves, for the software that we created, but it has grown to be a more broader scope. So other organizations in the Netherlands can also add their software, index their software in the research software directory, not only in the Netherlands, but also the open source, the research software directory. It's an open source project in itself, so it can also be forked and cloned and deployed. So there's many instances of the research software directory in other countries as well. So in Germany and in the UK, there's also copies of the research software directory where other organizations have their own research software directory where they index their own software. And all these research software directories are also federated with each other, so you can find software from one RSD in another RSD. So they talk to each other and they share information, which again helps give more findability to your software. So these are some of the I've been talking about some of the initiatives that we are involved in, and of course we don't do this in isolation, because we are a national center, and we need to have collaboration with other organizations in the landscape, in the research software landscape, at the national level and at an international level. So here I just have the logos of some of the organizations that we collaborate with and that we work closely with, which I'm not gonna go through all the logos just because I'll run out of breath, but it's just to have an impression of some of the other organizations in the landscape that we have strong collaboration with. And one part that we do within the Science Center that goes beyond our usual projects is our fellowship program, which of course I'll go into more detail about the fellowship program in a moment. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the call for Research Software Sustainability Fellows is a joint call with OSNL. So OSNL are actually providing us with the funding to run this call, and we're running this in collaboration with them. So OpenScience.nl is the Dutch organization for open science, and their mission is to advance and accelerate open science in the Netherlands with the goal of making open science the norm. So they do this by providing funding for projects, initiatives along the NPOS agenda, and by monitoring and evaluating the progress of these projects and of the adoption of open science in the Netherlands. They provide a forum to exchange for best practices, and they organize and coordinate activities at the national level related to open science. So how do they do this? They do this based on the national platform open science agenda, a framework which was published a few years ago, and they review their work program, which gets approved every 2 years, and then based on this work program, they devise different funding mechanisms, so different goals and different instruments tailored for different communities. So they have different goals where they provide funding in different ways to promote the adoption of open science in the Netherlands. I think one detail that I'm probably forgot to mention is that OpenScience.nl is a Regio orgaan, and it's part of an NWO, so they are the money comes in the end from NWO and in the end from the Ministry of Education. So many of the restrictions from the OpenScience.nl calls are because of the way that they're structured. For this program, we're running the program together with OpenScience.nl, as I mentioned. So it's a collaboration between Design Center and OSNL. We'll have this collaboration between now and 2030. So that means that we'll continue to run the fellowship program and our other software sustainability calls for this period. And the program, the Research Software Sustainability Program, has two tracks. One is the fellowship program, which we'll be talking about today, and the other one is our software sustainability calls, which are in the process at the moment. And so the whole program focuses on quality and adoption as central aspects of software sustainability. So both programs or both tracks of the program are aimed to making sure that software that is developed, research software, is as sustainable as possible, meaning that it has adoption, that there's more people using it than their original developers, and that it serves a wider community, and that it has some thought on how it will be sustained in the future, right? So that we hope that the software that was written for one project, that was written at one point in time, that will continue to exist for a longer period of time, for the foreseeable future. And how do you plan for that? How do you build your software in such a way that it can be reused over time? That's what this whole program tries to address, and that's what the fellowship also tries to address at a more detailed level. So about this call, this about the software research software sustainability fellowship program, as I mentioned, and the idea of this call is to have a network of ambassadors within the Dutch academic landscape. So we have already run a few cohorts of fellowship of fellows in the past. These are people who are our ambassadors, who are as ambassadors for research software. They are passionate people who are advocating for the importance of research software in their local organizations. So they come from different universities. We have here a visualization of where they come from, in geographically, but also in which domain they're working, in which career stage they find themselves at the moment. So we really try for this network to be as diverse as possible, to be as wide as possible, and that's the aim of the network, and that's partly the benefit of the network, because these ambassadors, we try to make sure that they act as a network, so that they can exchange information with each other, so they can share their knowledge, they can share. Sometimes they share their problems. Some of these people who are trying to make sure that research software is more widely used at their organization, they encounter the same troubles in their organization or the same challenges in their organizations, and sometimes just having someone else who shares the similar issues and you can brainstorm together to try to find solutions to your problems, to your challenges. So that's part of the value of the network, that the fellows from this call are also connected to this network, this wider network of research software ambassadors. So who we are looking for, in the call text we mentioned that we're looking for individuals that want to promote or improve the use of research software sustainability within their organization or discipline. So we're really looking for people that want to promote research software sustainability, to advocate and to really act as ambassadors and that are really trying to convince their colleagues, to convince their organizations, to convince other people in the research domain, to convince their neighbors that research software sustainability is something that it's important for research in general, and that really try to make sure that people are raising awareness of the importance of this, and that people realizing the need for effort and for more activities related to making software more sustainable. So what type of activities are in the scope? So we have a list of activities that we envision and that we think that are in the scope of the Research Software Sustainability Program. For example, developing training materials if you want to educate people in your institute about research software. Maybe you want to develop some training materials on how to use GitHub or on how to share your code publicly or how to pick the best license for your code. Maybe you want to invite some speakers to inspire your colleagues or your peers on how to make your software more sustainable. And maybe you want to run a hackathon where you bring together everybody who's developing software in your organization and work together towards improving the quality of your software. Maybe you want to increase the visibility of your piece of software you've already created by giving presentations, printing posters, creating flyers, printing stickers. So those are some of the ideas that we already thought about, and we thought, oh, this would really be in the scope of the program. This would be really interesting. But we would also be really interested in having other ideas we haven't thought about. So maybe if you think that having some inflatable bouncy castle in front of your building will help the adoption of research software, I would be very curious to see how you're thinking about that. So the ideas that are not written here, but that you think would help the adoption of research software sustainability in your organization are welcome to apply. So what can be applied for? What the Research Software Sustainability Fellowship gives you is a contact point within the center. So that's who we call your mentor. And you have 40 hours of eScience Center expertise. So that means that this mentor can help you to think about maybe organize a course for your organization, or maybe to think about how to improve, how to convince your colleagues about the importance of improving the quality of your code. Or he can point you to another colleague within the center who has the expertise to help you. So your mentor is your contact point, and then you can use your hour expertise either in your mentor's time or with some colleagues within the center. You also have 2,000 euros towards expenses. So if you are thinking about inviting a speaker or printing a poster or traveling to a conference, this is the type of things that would be you could use these expenses for, and as long as they are in line with the aim of the program, with increasing the adoption of research software sustainability, then it's within the scope of the goal. Another benefit of being a fellow is that you are part of the eScience Center community. So that means that you have access to our special interest groups. So you can join our special interest group meetings on topics like software quality and data, efficient computing, data handling. And you can join these discussions to ask questions about, well, what's the best way to put my software, to use a GPU for my software, or things like that, that you can really benefit from the eScience Center expertise in that way by joining these events. We organize some fellowship events. So we usually organize a kickoff event, a fellows day in the middle, where we try to organize some training that we think is beneficial for the fellows, and a fellowship closing event. These events are very useful networking events because, like we mentioned, you can meet other fellows within your cohort, but also you can meet fellows from previous cohorts who might have experience with the same challenges that you have, or which might have some ideas, some suggestions on who you can approach to address your own challenges. And as part of the eScience Center community, we also organize other events, and you will be informed and invited to join such events. For example, the National Research Software Day, which is of course a public event, but maybe if it's not something that is in your radar, by being part of the network, you gain more awareness of this type of events. And the final benefit of being part of the fellowship is that it helps you with visibility and increasing your networking. So you can be listed as a fellow on our website. We have a special page for each of our cohorts where all our fellows are listed, and they have a landing page that gives them have a little bit of visibility, and it certifies their connection with the Science Center, and as I mentioned, you also get the benefit of networking with fellows from previous cohorts. So you really have a network of collaborators who are also interested in the same goal as you are, which is research software sustainability. What are the conditions? So our call is really aimed in the spirit of open science. So we all the repos that are used and created for this purpose of your fellowship should be public. So all the information that we create through your fellowship, we want it to be as open as possible. We have a strong preference for using Apache 2 license, unless, of course, you already have software that is existing, then we might need to discuss that. But we try to use Apache 2 license as much as possible. And we try to share whichever software that you use or create. We ask you for it to be indexed in the research software directory as part of your fellowship. So that, again, it's to help you with the visibility of your own software. We have an AI policy at the center. So as being a fellow, you need to comply or abide by our AI policy, which doesn't mean that you cannot use AI policy, but you need to make sure that you use it in a responsible way and that you are clear about where you're using AI, if you're using AI at all. And all the final condition of being part of the, if you're granted as a fellow, is that you have to abide by our intellectual property rules. So again, everything that you that is created as part of your fellowship should comply with our intellectual property rules. Who can apply for the fellowship program? So we have in the call text that the applicant must be based in the Netherlands. In some of our other calls and some calls from other funders, the application criteria are a little bit more strict, and that you have to be a researcher or have to be a professor at the university. But for the fellowship program, we try to keep this as flexible as possible. So we only restrict the applicants to be based in the Netherlands, and they could have any job title. That's not a constraint. So they could be a researcher, they could be a developer, they could be a research software engineer, or someone who advocates for best practices in the use of research software, as long as their role and the work that they do as part of the fellowship helps advance this goal of promoting research software sustainability. This is in scope. So we do have some constraint that the selection committee will decide on the eligibility of the applications based on the alignment with the goals of the program and the vision of the Science Center. So that means that there might be some cases in which we say, sorry, your selection committee doesn't deem that your application is in scope. So it's not that everything goes. There are still some rules that apply, but it's very flexible because we want this fellowship to be as inclusive as possible to really extend the networking effect of the fellowship. How to apply? So you have to apply using our Conf tool, which is the tool that we use for all of our calls. It's not very difficult to use, but it does take some time getting used to it. So if you're applying for the project for the program, please don't leave it until the last minute. Make sure that you take some time to get familiar with Conf tool, with how to submit, with the submission process. Note that there is no submission button. Once the deadline passes, the latest version of your application is automatically considered as the submitted application. So that's again something that might be take some getting used to. So the Conf tool is the tool that we use for all of our calls. So please make sure you take some time to get used to it. The timeline for the assessment procedure is that we have the information event today, and the deadline for written applications is in June, on the 11th of June. At that point, we'll check for the eligibility of the projects. So all the applications, the assessment committee will make the decision whether they're in scope or not, and we'll go through internal review. Then we'll notify fellows or we'll notify applicants in July of the results of the written application. And successful applicants will be invited for personal interviews, which will take place on the 2nd and 3rd of September. So say if you apply for the fellowship, be aware that 2nd and 3rd of September we'll have the interviews. Try to keep that clear in your calendar. And we'll make the final decision somewhere later in September. If for whatever reason you're not able to be at the interview during the 2nd and 3rd of September, please reach out to the application committee, to the selection committee. Reach out to us, and we'll try to accommodate this as much as possible. We cannot provide any guarantees, but we'll try to accommodate as much as possible. Once the final decisions after the interviews, the selection committee will make a final ranking of the fellows, and will decide on the selected fellows. And then the selected fellows will be notified somewhere in September, we hope. And then we'll have a kickoff event later in the year. I'm still not yet sure of the date, but we'll have a kickoff event after the final decisions are announced, and successful fellows will receive an invitation for the kickoff event when the decision is announced. So I see that I'm probably running a little bit ahead of time, but that's okay. Should we take? Are there any questions at this point?
No questions in the chat.
Okay, so if there's no questions in the chat.
Oh, one question in the chat. If someone's contract is due in June, are they still qualified to apply for this fellowship?
If someone's contract is due in June 2027, they can apply for the fellowship program. I think the only restriction there is that they will need to make sure to use their fellowship money before their contract expires with the university. So if you're a fellow and you do all the activities where you would be spending money in the first part of the year before June, then it wouldn't be an issue.
So you mean June 27, right?
Yes, June 27. I'm assuming that the contract meant June 27.
That is not clear from the question, but indeed, I think the answer is also clear. If the contract is due in this June, then it's a bit different, right?
Yeah. If the contract is due in this June, then I don't think that would be possible.
Another question is, how many fellows will be chosen in total for this year?
So for this year, we will select 20 fellows.
Okay. And one second to last question is, what is the format or location of the interviews?
So the interviews are online. So that's the location, and it's a 15-minute interview with two members of the selection committee. And the format is that the fellow usually gives a pitch of their idea, and the selection committee has a few minutes to make a couple of questions on the plan itself, and also on the how well the fellow is able to transmit their enthusiasm about software sustainability. So yeah.
There is one last question. There was a Word file in the announcement of the fellowship. Is this what is uploaded to the Conto portal?
Yes. So that there's a template. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Yes. Then the template is what is used for the
I think those are the questions.
Okay.
For now.
Then maybe we can take a 15-minute break.
Yeah.
And then we'll start with presentations from our previous year's fellows. I see that Stefan made some last-minute changes to this presentation. Yes, Stefan, not a problem if you want to present yourself. So let's take a 15-minute break and reconvene at 5 before the hour.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time so far, and we'll see you in 15 minutes.
Sure.
So I'm just, I think you should be able to share your screen now.
First of all, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, fabulous. Okay, I think I'm sharing my screen now.
Not yet.
No?
Now it is. Now it's working.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just, without further ado, I'll just give you the floor, Stefan. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Stefan. I'm a data steward in Tilburg. In Tilburg, we mostly have social sciences, humanities, and economics. That means my customers are typically very eager, very motivated, and very motivated people who are motivated to do good and to do things well, but they're often not so techy. Typically didn't have a software training during their studies, or sometimes even learned outdated stuff. Research software is definitely used, but it's not very established. So again, people haven't learned it, and then also their supervisors typically don't nudge them in the right directions. How people typically get into the research software is that they realize that it's necessary for a project they have to do, and then they kind of learn it themselves and kind of do it in their back room while their supervisor thinks they are doing productive stuff like writing papers. And of course, this is not very great from all kinds of perspectives, including software sustainability, but also, we wanted to give research software a bit more of a platform, and also exchange knowledge, of course. So my idea was pretty simple. I wanted to establish the Coding Cafe as an event series in Tilburg. For those of you that don't know, the Coding Cafe is basically community meetup for researchers typically that want to talk about research software, want to learn new things, stay up to speed with all the developments. How we wanted to do is have an invited talk on a coding concept, then follow up with some collaboration time, and of course offer pizza, complimentary pizza, to keep the coding brain cells fueled. And of course, I already said this, I think, but it's really kind of an anchor for a community that we want to build around these sessions. Around this time, I think we already had like 1 or 2 sessions where it was always a nightmare to get the few bucks we needed to get to pay for the pizza. Around this time, I learned about the fellowship program. That was 2014, by the way. I should have said this, so it's a few years back. Around this time I learned about the fellowship program, and I was kind of thinking about what could I get out of it. and I settled on that I could use the hours for the engineers to invite speakers that can talk about some coding concepts, especially basics like Git, dependency management, IDEs, these kind of things. But I also wanted some expert opinion on community building, and I know that the eScience Center is very good at that as well. We have some community managers in this very group right now, and yeah, again, a couple of bucks to pay for the pizza. Thought that would be nice too, because yeah, I don't know if you've ever requested 100 euros every other month, but it's a lot of institutions. It's kind of annoying to get that, even though it's it's peanuts. What I got out of this is actually way more than that. So next to everything I needed, I also got I got to meet very, very dedicated facilitators. And that is not only, again, the folks that you see here in this call that organized everything around it, some meetings. I can't even keep track of all the nice things that were organized, but also my mentor was super, super helpful. And she was like really taking ownership without, but still, of course, leaving me the room and the basically I was the one who knew my customers the best. So I think we worked very, very well together. I also felt that being part of this community of fellows was also very valuable because you meet super motivated people. Everybody has very creative ideas, and everybody's very motivated, and the vibes were just always very, very nice. And of course, with engineers, I also had very nice exchanges on how to teach certain concepts, how to discuss them, which concepts are actually the most important, and so on. I'm also happy to tell that we made quite some lasting impact. So the Coding Cafe is, even after I think more than a year, then the fellowship program ran out for me. We still have this event format; it's still ongoing, and I think the biggest impact here was that by getting this fellowship and getting the money, I could tell, hey, this is important enough that Tilburg University, and established enough, most importantly, that Tilburg University should keep investing in this. And we actually have a dedicated community manager now. Who would have thought? And I don't have to beg for a few bucks every other month for pizza. Which is also nice. I feel it also gave a very clear boost to my professional network, which I would definitely call a lasting impact. I have this box as well here on the bottom right, whether this program is for you or not. I think a lot of us sometimes can feel a little bit stuck in the typical academic pathways. So this fellowship program is very different to what you typically have. Not this. It's not like kind of finding your way through the departments of your own university. It's also not asking for a super big grant that takes months and probably years to even get started on. I think it's a nice shake-up compared to a lot of the typical pathways we see in academia. I think this is also great if you want to invest in yourself, if you have a nice vision that you want to flesh out, if you want to learn a ton, if you just want to try something new. Again, if you do not like applying for grants, this is a grant for you. I really liked this, especially that it doesn't feel like a complete overkill what is required for you, what is required of you to apply, and it's all very reasonable, and I think your chances of getting it are still quite high. I heard there will be 20 people accepted this year, so summing up, I really like the entire process and I like the entire program, and I'm very happy that there's a new edition now. I think there was a 1-year pause, right, Carlos? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure if people can ask me questions right away or if we wait until the second presentation.
No, we can do questions now if you want. If there's any questions for Stefan, if not, there will also be an opportunity after.
And just a correction. Sorry, go ahead. Someone else's.
I was just going to say that there's no questions in the chat at the moment, but apparently there is one from you, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Just a small correction. Stefan, you said 2014 at the beginning. It's 2024, right? This is what you meant, like 2 years
Yes,
ago.
2024. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, cool. Just to clarify.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2024.
Yeah, I think the fellowship program didn't exist in.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions for Stefan, I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'll share Esther's presentation if this thing wants to work with me.
Thanks.
Okay, then also without further ado, I'll just give you the floor, Esther.
Thank you, Carlos. So my name is Esther Plomp, and I was also a fellow of 2024-2025. And at that time, I was a data steward at the Delft University of Technology, Faculty of Applied Sciences. And in order to stimulate researchers at my faculty to share more research software, the question was always, okay, but how well are we doing now? How much is actually being shared? And I did not have a proper answer to that right from the start, since I started as a data steward there in 2018. And so at some point, I'm not very technical. So at some point, I just went over some articles manually to check, okay, is any data or research software shared? And as you can imagine, that is quite some labor to go over all of the published articles and see if there's any shared data or any research software. So I had in mind that I wanted to do this in a way that was more automatically. And that was actually what was made possible by the fellowship, because as part of the fellowship, I received some research software support or research software engineering support from A1, which was very helpful because, again, I'm not super technical, so I can sort of understand what's going on, but I can definitely not write it myself. So this was super helpful to be able to apply for that. And next to that, it was also very helpful to have Carlos as a mentor. Mentors are always helpful for accountability purposes, but he also provided me with connections with two other fellows from previous years who had quite similar projects. And so I was able to work together with a different fellow, testing their script, moving on from there, and organizing an open science festival session together. And so that was great in terms of the network and in terms of not having to work on this project by myself. As was already mentioned by Stefan, this is quite a way for certain roles to work on your CV in a way that you can't do otherwise. And other than receiving the fellowship, it was also leading to a short chapter in the Guide to Reproducible Code, which goes into a little bit like how can you make it easier for these automated scripts to discover your research software as a researcher when you're publishing a research article. Because we discovered that there's researchers don't do this very well in a sense, but that's because no one is telling them what the best way is. So that chapter is covering that. And we also, at some point, I would like to add these recommendations also to fairsoftware.nl if we can still get to it. And another thing where I personally benefited was not pizza, but I got to go to an international conference with the budget. And it was very helpful to talk to some people globally, more US focused in my case, about how they were doing these types of things. And in terms of further funding, I think it also helped to get me a Software Sustainability Institute fellowship in 2025. Not just because I guess this helps with your CV, but if I hadn't received this fellowship, I don't think I would have been like, okay, I guess I'm technical enough to go for this research software type of applications. And so I'm currently still working on a project for this. So it can also be a step up to other things that are going on. Yeah, I think I wanted to leave it at that. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Esther. Are there any questions for Esther?
I have one about the outcomes. You mentioned, Carlos, at the beginning that the code itself is, will be published publicly. There's a link. I will check the presentation link later. But how did it end up? Like, did you have an end product that can be used at other universities, other setups as well? Because I know Meron's code on a similar thing that they did for their own university, kind of like a monitoring report. If this could be reproduced for their setups. I know you are nodding, so I will leave the answer. Yeah.
Yes, it's listed on the research software directory. Thanks, Carlos, again for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has a GitHub repository. It has a license. You can check it out. So the bright side of this fellowship script is that you only have to use a DOI in order to check whether there's any data or software associated with the publication, so the DOI of the publication. Whereas Meron script needed some commercially databases. I think it was Pure, if I remember correctly, and downloading entire articles, etc. And for this workflow, I thought it was a little bit less practical in case you didn't have any access to these types of toolings or infrastructure. So we try to make it as simple as possible with the least amount of resources needed. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Someone is asking, what is the SSI fellowship?
Okay. Very good question. So the SSI fellowship, it's a Software Sustainability Institute fellowship. So the Software Sustainability Institute, it's an organization in the UK which are focused on promoting sustainability of software. So they are a partner organization for us. We collaborate with them in many projects. And actually, the Science Center Fellowship is completely inspired by the SSI Fellowship. And so I can see some people sharing links already to the SSI Fellowship program. And the one difference and advantage of the SSI Fellowship program, I guess, is that they're also open for international applicants. I think they have something like 3 or 5 places for international applicants every year. So that's something that Dutch-based applicants can also apply for, like Esther did. Esther's correcting me last year. It was 3 international applicants. Yeah. If there's no further questions for Esther, I'll just move to my final slide, which is just opening the floor for any other questions that are any outstanding questions, either for Esther or for Stefan, or about the fellowship program in general. Okay, if there's no further questions, I think I should emphasize one thing that is.
Sorry, someone asked, can fellows of previous rounds apply again, Stefan?
There isn't anything in the application criteria that would prevent you from applying. So technically, yes. I think that the networking benefits for a previous fellow would be a little bit diminished because you already are part of that network. And it would be, so I wouldn't be able to introduce you to yourself, right? So that would be a little bit not as beneficial if I introduce you to yourself. So that would maybe make your application a little bit less strong, but it is technically possible. I think one thing that I should emphasize the difference between the previous fellowship rounds and this round is that this round is more focused on software sustainability. I think previous rounds were more focused on research software in general, but because this call is now in collaboration with OSNL, we decided to focus it a little bit more on the long-term sustainability of research software. So that's something to be taken into account. And also my colleague Peter mentioned it would be useful to emphasize that the call is not focused only on the academic landscape, but that people with all other job profiles, so people from HBOs are more than welcome to apply for these calls. We mentioned this because it was a restriction in the past that people from certain organizations were not able to apply because of the restrictions that apply. So I just want to emphasize that we're trying to open up those criteria so we can really maximize the effort, the networking benefit. I don't see any more questions. So with that, and with 10 minutes to go, I'm just going to say thank you very much for your time and for your attention. If there's anything any other questions that come to your mind after this session is closed, please feel free to reach out to us at any moment with the email that is on the screen. With that, I'm just going to
say... Carlos, maybe mention again that the recording will be uploaded to the call page on the website as well.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Peter. What Peter just mentioned, that the recording will be available on the website. So if there's any questions, you can always go back to the recording. You can share the recording with your colleagues if that's interesting to them. And feel free to reach out to them. Thank you, Peter, for helping me run this call. Thank you, Clara, for your help in the room. Esther, Stefan, thanks for